Welcome to the show. I am MMA insider and Herb Dean's dog sitter, Joey Venti, and you're listening to the MMA History Podcast, the only podcast dedicated 100% to the preservation of mixed martial arts history. Interviews and stories about the early days of MMA direct from the men who lived it. Hundreds of interviews, thousands of hours of research, all conducted by the most obsessed mind in the business, the MMA Detective Mike Davis. Join us as we document the history of the sport we all love. Fellow historians, welcome back to the MMA History Podcast. I'm Joey Venti. I'm here with the MMA Detective Mike Davis. And after spending the last few weeks digging through some of the darkest corners of MMA history, we're finally stepping back into the light. Who better to help us do that than today's guest? He's a Pride and UFC veteran who's defeated champions like Rico Rodriguez and Kevin Randleman. He's also Christian minister, evangelical strongman, and a fellow firefighter. The H2O man, Ron Waterman, thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, Ron, we need to purge this negativity. And
yes, we
do. That's why you're here. This might be more of a therapy session for Joey and I than it is about your career, unfortunately.
All right, we can do that too.
Okay. So why don't we talk about with what you're doing now?
So I'm currently a full-time firefighter paramedic at a place called Mountain View Fire here in Colorado. We've got 15 stations, and I've been doing that for almost 15 years now.
So your MMA beginnings, they're very non-traditional. In fact, there's been a couple of things that I uncovered where prior to your first fight on record, you actually were working out with Bas Rutten, preparing him for his fights in the UFC.
I was getting him ready for Kevin Randleman, as a matter of fact.
Well, okay, so according to Bas, when I reached out to Bas, he said his UFC run, which would have been around here, December of 98, November, December of 98, which was before your first fight.
I actually didn't help Bas until I met him, and that was at the Bas Rutten Invitational, which would have been 99.
Okay, so it's February 6th of 99. Okay, so he's a little off. Okay, so the Colorado beginnings of mixed martial arts has got like Brad Gum is one of the names, as well as Diego Moraes. Did you ever work out with those two?
I didn't work out with either of those guys.
So Brad is he's an interesting character that there's just very, very little out there on. Okay. So where do you start with mixed martial arts?
I started the Bas Rutten Invitational, which was the very first tournament that I ever entered. And I was just challenged by him. I was a high school wrestling teacher and a wrestling coach at that time. Mixed martial arts was just starting to explode. The UFC was getting big, and all the competitive top fighters were all wrestlers. You had Mark Coleman and Kerr and all the wrestlers, Severin.
Erickson.
Yeah, exactly. And so my wrestling team just challenged me after practice one night to go enter this competition down in Denver, which was then the Bas Rutten Invitational. And I took them up on it. I made a challenge back to them and trained for like 3 months to get ready for this.
Okay, with who?
Just whoever I could find.
Okay.
Back there.
So not even fighters, just other wrestlers.
Yeah, like a bunch of like martial arts guys, judo guys and just local friends that I had, good wrestlers, and trained for 3 months. No stand-up experience at all.
What about videotapes?
I don't even think I watched any of those back then.
Oh, you didn't do any like instructionals. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. How old are you at this time?
Ground and pound. I'm going to be, you mean back then?
Yeah.
Geez, I would have been maybe 38. No, I was 32.
Okay.
Joey, no instructional tapes.
He doesn't check that box.
He watches a couple UFCs, but this is the box he does check. His first fight, or his first thing he does is enters a tournament.
Yep.
3 fights in one night.
Very important. So there's a couple unique things in regards to this. One, John Perretti's the referee.
Correct.
What was your experiences with him?
Um, we kind of hit it off. I mean, I thought he was a great guy, and he didn't know me from Joe, walking into this tournament. And after my first fight, he came up to me and he said, "Dude, you need to take it easy on these guys, and don't go all out on them." And so I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, this is my first mixed martial arts fight of my life." I mean, and I was a college wrestler, so all I knew was 100, go on out there and give everything you've got. So
Smash, smash, smash. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, ground and pound, because I didn't know anything else. I was just taking him down to the ground and ground and pound.
All right. So you got John Perretti, who's the current day matchmaker for the UFC. You've got Bas Rutten, who is an international superstar in regards to MMA at this time.
Yeah,
You're in front of those guys. Was that just by accident? Because this was like
100%.
oh,
100%. Yeah, I knew none of these guys.
you didn't even know who they
Boss,
were?
no, met Boss for the first time. Met Nate Marquardt. He was competing there, and a couple other guys. And I knew there was a couple of UFC fighters in there. Pat Smith was in that competition, and got beat before I got to fight him that night.
Okay. So did you know who was in the tournament, or did you just
No clue. No clue who was I. I just knew I was going to have 3 fights. Didn't know how many guys that were going to be in the tournament
By the
overall.
way, this fight card had 26 fights on it.
yeah, Jens Pulver, I think, was on that too,
Yeah,
playing
Jens Pulver
Ludwig.
was there. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Well, Joey, there's always some stuff in the game on these early tournaments. So his first fight here, we'll get there. There's a payoff here. So Daniel James is your first opponent. Do you remember anything of walking to the ring?
I probably had some jitters, but I was a college wrestler, so I was used to that, that one-on-one. It was just a different ball game now because, these guys are throwing open hand punches at you. It wasn't closed fist at this tournament. So but still getting smacked was a whole new ball game for me. So
So no sparring up until this point.
very little. Yeah, no, not on my feet. No, I was just take them down and go to work.
Yeah. Hurt, hurt, hurt. Right.
100%, yeah.
Okay. You now came out in 20 seconds. Then you get Joshua Jenkins in a minute 14.
Yeah, that was an interesting fight.
This is one that Peretti talks about.
Yes, Peretti's talked about this one a few times where I took the guy down and started pounding him, and Peretti actually stops the fight like within the first minute. The guy's bloodied up a little bit and not really defending himself much. I'm up in full mount, just teeing off on the guy. And his corner's just going crazy after he stops the fight, and yelling at Peretti. And so all I know is he puts me back in my corner and he comes back out and he says, "Okay." Because he told me again before the fight even started, he goes, "Take it easy on these guys. I don't want you to hurt anybody." And so he looks over at me right after the he gives him the okay to continue fighting, and he's like, "Do whatever you want." So
Green
another,
light.
yeah, another, I don't know, 30 seconds or so, I take him back down to the ground, break his nose this time, and Freddie stops it the second time and he looks back up at the corner and says, "Are you happy now?" And
Well, he was also kind of looking into the audience,
yeah.
talking to Bas, yeah, he put a little bit of a show. All right. So, Joey, that's interesting, but not as interesting as this. He meets Matt Asher in the finals. So, when I try to piece together Matt Asher's journey to the finals,
Right.
he only has one fight.
Pat Smith.
That's it.
Was he an
So,
alternate?
no, I think either somebody showed up and left.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ron? Or yeah.
I can't tell you how he got to the finals either. I knew Pat Smith was one of them, and I think Pat got his eye poked in the fight or something, so he dropped out, and here I am in the finals against this guy. And again, Peretti comes up to me and is like, "Take it easy on this guy."
You obviously
Wait,
knew who Pat Smith was. Was
Yeah, I did know who Pat Smith was.
It says he beat Pat Smith in 11 seconds. I'm not taking it easy on anybody who beats Pat Smith in 11 seconds.
I think that was due to injury, though. I don't think it was a legit win. I think he got poked in the eye.
Gotcha.
Okay. Previous to this walk, I'm assuming you anticipated seeing Pat in the finals.
Yeah, as soon as I got there and found out Pat was in it, I thought for sure that we'd face off sometime during the tournament.
Joey, it's a 7-man tournament.
Yeah.
With one person fighting 3 times and the other
Yep.
person fighting twice. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got Daniel James in 20 seconds. You get Joshua Jenkins in 1:14, and we'll count that as 2 wins against Jenkins. And now you're in the finals with Asher.
I really wasn't. I was probably more nervous about the first fight or the second fight than I was against this guy, because Daniel James is a big dude. I mean, he was probably pushing close to 400 pounds, and Asher didn't seem like he was very intimidating to me. So I went out there and picked him up, slammed him, and choked him out. And I don't know, pretty quick.
28 seconds.
28 seconds. Yeah.
So Joey, if you add up all of his time, he actually gets 4 wins in under 2 minutes.
And all by TKO, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, here. What was the prize money?
$500.
It's
to win 3 fights.
$500 and a big trophy. It's actually a plaque.
Okay, you won a plaque. You're in front of the UFC matchmaker, which is huge at this point. It's also the day after Columbine.
That's right. And it was right by Columbine. It was probably within 2 miles of Columbine in Littleton.
Wow.
So Perretti was at Columbine while it was going on, and he saw Ving Tran. Ving Tran
was the owner of the gym that this competition was in.
Okay. Whatever happened with him?
I never heard much about him after I fought there one time.
So Ving Tran's son jumped out one of the windows and Perretti was there.
I never heard that story.
At the campus?
It's like, how close was it?
Probably a couple miles.
Oh.
And you've never saw Ving Tran afterward?
I don't think I have. Maybe at a couple local fights or something, but it was so long ago, I don't remember much about him. He's a little Oriental guy.
He stole John Perretti's cage.
He did.
So we're looking for him. If you see him.
we're just, I'm not saying there's a bounty because we're on YouTube, but let's just say some money can find it your way if you ever see Mr. Tran.
That's interesting. Yeah.
We get that cage back. So the early days, you're a high school art teacher, you're coaching wrestling, you win this tournament. The locker room must have been nice, but what's it like walking back into high school? I mean, you're a hero at that point.
That was pretty cool. The kids couldn't have watched me on TV at this point yet, but going back and talking to them, it was probably just a couple months after that, they ended up doing a documentary on me and went into the school and filmed me, called Rites of Passage.
Yeah.
Interviewed my principal and a bunch of the kids in my classroom. So that was a pretty cool experience.
So Rites of Passage is like with Kevin Randleman. They had the rooftop fight with him and Seth Petroselli.
That's right.
That may or may not be real, depending on who you talk to. Phenomenal documentary. One of my favorite ones that really like kind of capture what happened in that old school time period. Really, really cool. All right. So I was also told at this point that before you even fight in the UFC, you end up going in March 5th, 1999. You went to UFC 19 to introduce yourself to a lot of people. Is this true?
It is. Perretti asked me if I would go, and I ended up actually rooming with him at the hotel and staying there. And he just introduced me to a bunch of people and kind of just got me used to seeing what that environment looks like ahead of time, and got to meet a bunch of the fighters. And before I fought in the next one, which was UFC 20.
So you stay with John Perretti. I mean, John is kind of notorious for getting on the mat and rolling with people. Did you ever get any mat time with him?
I don't think he ever trained with me much. I mean, he watched me and helped me with Boss a little bit, but never personally rolled with me. I was a lot bigger than John was.
Yeah. Yeah. We loved, he's one of our favorite people to deal
Yeah.
with. Like he's, I'm saying to you what I've said to him to his face and behind his back. I think he's probably on the spectrum a little bit, and he doesn't fare well in some of his deliveries in regards to information.
Right.
But it's phenomenal stuff.
Yeah. I've always liked John, and he was actually at that fight at UFC 19 that he introduced me to a gal named Phyllis Lee, who became my manager. And
Okay.
that's when Phyllis and I started, and she was my manager till I quit.
Okay. So Phyllis, could you open up a little bit about this is what, let me just kind of set the table here. Phyllis Lee is a woman's pro wrestler that was a carny that went on tour, that had deep connections in Japan, rough around the edges. I've met her a few times, but it's somebody that we have not covered enough on our program. Like, I have looked for her wrestling pictures just to print them out and put them on my wall out of respect. I can't even find those. So go ahead.
Phyllis was awesome, and I was just going by John's word. I asked him about managers and if that was a good idea, and he's like, "Yeah, but there's only one that I want to hook you up with, and that's her name's Phyllis Lee." And she was just finishing being a manager with Severin at that time, and they didn't end um, very well with their relationship that they had. But I loved Phyllis. She was a piece of work, but she always did right for me, and I used her from the beginning to the end of my whole career. She went, like you said, she had tons of connections in Japan. She was in my corner all the time, and she'd get so mad because people would think that it's my mom. They'd ask her if she was my mother, and she would say, "No, I'm not his mother." But she was so crippled up from wrestling, and so she had a hard time getting around and moved super slow. So,
Sounded like a smoker. Yeah. Yeah. So behind your back, Phyllis Lee told me, and whenever Chris Lytle fought Pete Spratt, reality super fighting, maybe it's 2005. I spent a little time with her at Randy Greenman's show. And in her kind of decrepit nature at the time, it was the only person that didn't F me, and she would use the full word,
oh yeah,
is Ron Waterman. The only one that didn't F me. And I would say, Phyllis, things that happen behind closed doors should stay there. And she would be, you know what the F I mean? You know what the F I mean? Like I was, insinuating that every fighter she managed that screwed her. She liked it. So no, she spoke very, very highly of you.
Yeah, and I always did the same. She could be frustrating at times, but I loved her and she did a good job for me, and I was never gonna turn my back on her and try to find other representation.
Yeah, these are her words. I've never had a contract with Ron Waterman. We had a handshake deal, and that he's a man of his word. She would say that about you.
She got a few good paydays from me.
And plane tickets.
That's right.
That were meant for corners.
That's right. Always.
So you meet her at UFC 19, and at UFC 20. Wait a minute. Were you March 20th, 1999? Were you at the Unified Shoot Wrestling Federation card in Amarillo, Texas?
I wasn't.
Cornering Leo Sawyer?
No, I fought with Leo Sawyer, but I didn't corner him in that fight.
Okay. Okay. I thought you may have been there.
Yeah, Leo Sawyer is actually who I got my black belt from in Broomfield, Colorado. I trained at his gym.
Okay. Who was he belted under?
I think it was one of the Machados.
Okay. Okay. So he was legit then.
Yeah, he was legit.
Yeah, he doesn't have much of a fight career. I knew you guys were tied in with each other, but his one fight was against Chris Easter. You were not there. It's kind of sandwiched in between you going to UFC 19 and showing up at UFC 20. So when do you start with Leo Sawyer?
It would have been shortly after that. And I think Nate Marquardt, he also trained with him, and he was one of them that invited me to his gym and to start training there.
Marquardt was special.
Yeah, he was a good kid. He still is. He's an awesome.
No, do you know where he's at right now?
He's been all over the place. I think he's still in like a third world country teaching.
Myanmar. He's in the middle of a country. He's in the country in the midst of a civil war.
Yep.
Wow.
Preaching the Lord's
Preaching the
word.
gospel. Yeah.
Yeah.
I follow him on Facebook, so I see all of his posts all the time, but we talk online a little bit, but it's been a while.
There might be 4 total Americans living in Myanmar. Think about that.
Well, his family's pretty big, so that probably ups the percentage right there.
Yeah,
He's got so many kids now.
he's a breeder. That guy.
What a neat family, though.
Yeah. You know, when we sat down with him, I don't want to kind of phrase things wrong, but it appeared to me that he was having a panic attack because he was recalling this time, and it was like, this is behind him. He was not comfortable at all.
Really?
No. In fact, like I even gave him several instances, like in Denver. In my opinion, Denver is one of the most fight-friendly cities in regards to gyms. Like Factory X doesn't participate, but all the other ones have like sparring days where everybody iron sharpens iron. And Marquardt was literally the seed that planted that. Like the culture that exists in Denver today is from Nate Marquardt.
Wow.
And like he was like, well, it's not that way anymore. I'm like, no, you're wrong, Nate. It is like that. And you got like Neil Magny, you got Chris Camozzi. Like Magny lived with them. Like, no. You've got guys that you really impacted that are continuing to do the things that you taught them. And no, he got out of that interview quick.
Really?
Yeah, he was not comfortable. Yeah, I mean, it was also like a 24 and a half hour time difference, which I couldn't even wrap my head around. I'm like, I thought this like is a globe where the sun goes around it, and it's like 24 hours.
Mike, we don't have time for flat earth philosophy.
I just didn't understand it. I'm like, how is it 24 and a half? I mean, is there like a time change? Like where, I mean, does it like kind of skip? Does it slow down? What's going on? Like, where's the 30 minutes that anyway?
When I first started training with Nate, I'll bet he was only 16 years old. He was so young, and I was a brand new believer back then, like probably 2 years before I started fighting. So I was always talking to him about his faith and stuff like that. So it was so rewarding for me to see that now that he's just taken off and
walking the walk.
That's his whole life. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Beneil Dariush is also like that.
Yeah.
I was in California doing some like street team stuff, going to gyms for bare knuckle. And they're like, well, you can't go in there. They're doing Bible study. And I'm like, Bible study with Beneil Dariush? Like, I'm staying. No, I sat in on it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to pass on that.
You know who else was in that first tournament was Ludwig.
Yeah, Dwayne.
Ludwig. He had some vicious kicks. It was so fun to watch that guy fight.
He was at T's KOs. That was the name of the gym for Trevor. Come on.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. I trained with Trevor too a few times.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, the talent up there is pretty intense, pretty wild. All right. So UFC 20. Tell us about getting the call.
Well, I actually didn't get the call. I mean, I got invited right from that tournament that day. When I won that championship, he's like, "You're going to be in not the next UFC, but the one right after that, which would have been UFC 20." And he invited me then to go to UFC 19 to check it out with him. And so flew me out there and got to just observe that whole spectacle and started training a little bit more seriously now, but still just, I mean, I'm from Greeley, Colorado, a little podunk town. And I think at this time I'd finally met a few guys in Denver and started to drive down there. I was a full-time school teacher, and a coach. So I would get to school at 8 o'clock in the morning and teach all day and then coach until 5 o'clock. And then I would have an hour and a half, 2 hour drive to get to Denver and train for 3 hours and then drive home. And I
Oh,
did
you were wiped out.
3 or 4 nights a week. Yeah.
Were you his local celebrity?
What's that?
You had to been like a local celebrity at this point, though, right?
Oh, I don't know at this point yet, but when they started to publish some articles and stuff in our Greeley Tribune at the time, people started to get wind of it. And
Sure. I'm sure the district manager was thrilled to have a teacher
right,
doing this.
right. And even back then, it wasn't like it is today as far as TV. I mean, that's when it was,
Dark ages.
yeah, right. It was human cockfighting and they were restricting it from television and you could still get it on pay-per-view, but it wasn't as accepted, obviously, as it is today.
It was frowned upon.
Oh, for sure.
Like it was like beyond what white trash does. Like, oh,
Yeah. And
yeah.
McCain, the governor's coming out and making all these statements about it. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
thought,
your time.
yeah, no, it really was. Did you get any heat from school because of it?
I didn't. My principal at the time was all about it, and he was a good friend of mine, so he supported me 100%. And he went down to my very first fight. He watched me at the Bas Rutten Invitational, and a bunch of my students were down there watching, and I think 3 or 4 of the teachers came down, so it was a
Did
big
you sell a
deal.
lot of you sold a lot of tickets?
Right, I probably did.
Wow. Wow. All right, UFC 20, you get the invite. It's March 7th, 1999. Chris Condo is your opponent. He weighs 336 pounds.
A little bit different build than I had at the time.
Yeah.
Again, another one of those guys that comes into the fight, and I guess when we did our medical checks before the fight, his blood pressure is so high that they're not even going to let him fight. So they're talking about throwing an alternate in there and doing some different things. And finally, I guess he got his blood pressure somewhat normalized, so they allowed him to fight. But it was another one that Peretti comes up to me 30 minutes before I'm walking out there and says, "Take it easy on this guy." I don't know why he always said that to me, but take it easy on this guy. And here I am, my first UFC fight. Like, really?
Were you nervous?
I was a little nervous. I mean, this is my first time in, national television and the UFC cage, which I've been watching on TV for a long time now, and here I am.
Yeah, this guy was from Missouri, an area that would later be like a hotbed for mixed martial arts. Dan Mergliotta is one of the judges that night. So you take him down, pound him out in 28 seconds. Was that something you had expected?
I didn't expect it to last long. I mean, I had my my game plan, which was no different than anything else. I wasn't going to stand up and punch with anybody, but I think I threw a few punches to set it up and ended up hip tossing him to the ground and ground and pound, and he tapped.
Huh. So you're kind of like a hot commodity at this point. Like you're a big specimen of a human being. You really haven't been past a minute yet outside of the time you beat up a guy twice.
Yeah.
And immediately you got a quick turnaround, which was like, it was really hard to get fights in the UFC at this time because you only did 4 and 5 events a year.
Right.
And when the matchmaker's into you, man, you got to ride that wave.
For sure.
So UFC 21, you get fight of the night from the Meskwaki Indian tribe, Andre Roberts, the big chief.
Great fight.
Great fight. He's 14-2-1.
You know how you have those fights that never leave you. That's one of them for me that just kind of haunts me.
Really?
Oh, big time, yeah. Like just the what ifs after that fight. I never thought that I should have lost that fight. Or I mean, I did obviously got clocked and my bell rung for the first time in my life. Um, but again, they stopped Big John stops the fight after a few minutes for blood because Andre's nose is bleeding so bad. Lets him come back out, and all of a sudden I get this unknown confidence on my feet that I can punch and stand up with this guy. So I'm not even attempting to take him down to the ground where my game is, and I'm just throwing punches because I'm way faster than he is. So I'm connecting on him. I got him up against the fence, and I'm just teeing off on him. And
Knees too.
yeah. And Big John yells over at him and says, Andre, you got to show me some life or I'm stopping this. And I just keep wailing on him, not even thinking about anything else except just throwing punches. And out of nowhere comes this big right hand and just clicks me on the chin. And I start spinning. I've never been hit before, not even in practice, that not like that, not from a big heavy dude. And I started spinning and I think stumbled back and fell at one point and then came back up to my feet. And then he caught me again with a second one. And by then I was spinning and I didn't think that I was out, but I was after watching the playback, I couldn't defend myself for a period of time. So Big John calls the fight and
So here's the thing. Andre Roberts takes a last minute fight against Gary Goodridge and he looks terrible.
right.
And quits. Like just in I mean, if you know anything about Indian fighters from the Midwest, particular boxers or even hockey players, the Indian hockey players, they're not known for that. Like they've got hard heads, they like to dig in, and like you got to out technique them, then out tough them.
Yeah.
And when
His nose that night.
yeah, he broke his nose, Dr. Istrico comes in, who was like the official UFC doctor at this point. I'm thinking he maybe had an adrenaline dump.
Yeah, everybody was pretty shocked, I think,
Because he kind of gassed.
yeah. But
Like,
the fight wasn't that long.
do you think it was adrenaline?
It could have been. I just think Gary clocked him pretty hard and he couldn't breathe and said that's it.
Yeah. So Istrico wants to stop the fight because his nose is broken again. Like you cracked him. Like you, I think 95% of that locker room folds at that point. The issue is you've got a 400-pound Andre Roberts in front of you.
Right.
I mean, like he's as legit as they come. Mark Hansen is in his corner. Mark Hansen is like a legendary like training partner at the Militich Fighting Systems. So if Hansen's in his corner, he's probably pretty prepared as well for this. It's just that I think the stars aligned for him that night.
Yeah, I knew Pat was in his corner as well.
Yeah. To John Perretti's credit, he gets you on UFC 24, September 24th, 1999. You're the opening fight against a two-time All-American whose only loss was to TK. And he had a win over Eugene Jackson in Tim Lajcik.
Yep.
I thought you got robbed.
Yeah, that was another one that was super frustrating. About a week before that fight, I'm training with Leo Sawyer down at the gym in Broomfield, and um, come down and post with my right hand, and my right bicep snaps and rolls up my arm. So it's
Oh,
clear up here in my shoulder practically. A week to go, I'm like, there's no way that I'm backing out of this fight at this point. And so I didn't say a word to anybody and went through the fight. You can see a couple of times during that fight, I think in the first period, I had him in a neck weave and I'm cranking on it. And if you look, my bicep is like just clear up here in my shoulder, and I just didn't have enough power to pull that off and to finish it and get tap him. But I didn't have any kind of a jab, or it was hard to do anything on my feet. So I just kept trying to take him down and take him down and take him down. And first time I'd gone a full distance fight, so that was
good.
a gut check for me for sure.
Yeah, but you finished strong.
Yeah, I finished on top, and
Joey, here's the issue. There was there seemed to be a really strong anti-wrestler bias
at
at
this
this
time.
point. And you saw it with Coleman, you saw it with Randleman. Those were the guys that really started it, the anti-wrestling bias. There was an accidental low blow where John McCarthy doesn't stop the fight, but in between rounds, he issues a warning.
yeah,
No points taken, just a warning.
Right.
When they announced the winner, they said the reason is because he got a warning. Or not the winner, the draw. When they announced the draw.
Right.
the draw.
It's because of the warning. They were still working out the rules back then.
I'm going to tell you somebody else that was really, and this might not be a popular thing to say, somebody else that was really anti-wrestler, that was kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing because he appeared to be a wrestler, at least in theory. And that's Eddie, come on, dude, the Eddie Goldman. He was one of the guys that was, well, I'm a wrestler, but he was very anti-wrestler, especially in the cards that he judged.
Yeah, he was a reporter, right? Was he not?
Yeah, in theory, they called him a reporter. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have ever listened to his stuff. He's like a guy in a van with like tin foil everywhere to protect himself from the gamma rays, emitting interviews where he does 95% of the talking and the guest just says yes, kind of like what I'm doing right now with Ron. He was another guy that was anti-wrestler that had a very large voice that I'm not saying any sway in this instance, but you're shaking your head like you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it seemed like the judges stopped giving credit for the takedown, and just being on top doesn't mean you were winning. There was a chapter like that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think I was ever on the bottom in that fight, or for 3 rounds.
I'd say if you were going to give him a round, you give him the second round, and it's kind of like
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
not, you know. You won the fight. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it was pretty awkward. And then I flew home and I sat on the seat right next to it. And so we talked the whole way home. We both had big shiners, and
Was he a good guy?
yeah, he's a good dude. He was also at the Bas Rutten Invitational, but didn't fight that day for some reason. But his buddy did,
Eugene Jackson.
Eugene Jackson. Yep.
Yeah.
What was the UFC paying you guys at this time?
Oh goodness, maybe 3,500 bucks.
Sounds right for the time.
Yeah.
I got in my notes that Eddie Goldman did play a factor into that. I don't know how true that is or not. I remember writing it down at the time.
Well, Phyllis was friends with him, so I always had to sit and talk to him after fights and stuff, and he was a strange cat.
Did he have any like body odor?
Not that I remember.
I could see that. I can see that. Honestly, he sends messages to me through a mutual friend telling
Oh,
me
does
that
he?
that I don't know shit about MMA. Yeah. He does. He's done it like 3 times. It's
Clearly,
okay.
it hasn't hurt your feelings, Mike.
Not at
No.
all. So, all right, moving on. Yeah, I mean that's my gripe, not yours. April 14th, 2000, UFC 25, Satoshi Honma, international experience. He's 7-6-3, but that's a 7 Japan 7-6-3, which means he is one tough SOB.
Yeah. That's a dude that would not tap and took a lot of damage that night.
Your son fought for Jeff Cisneros in Sparta.
Yeah, he did.
He's got a real cool promotion out there.
Yeah, it's up and coming. I mean, he does promotions 2 or 3 times a month, so they're going strong.
Yeah, he's got a good thing. You also trained Shane Carwin for Brock Lesnar at UFC 116.
Shane was one of my high school wrestlers. So my first couple of years of coaching, Shane was a junior and then a senior. And so I was his wrestling coach, knew his brother, wrestled with his older brother. Um, so always knew Shane and knew his potential. He never really reached his potential in high school, but went to Western State College out here in Colorado and just ballooned up and got giant. Um, just started dominating, and college wrestling becomes I don't know, at least a 2-time All-American, just a stud. So when he'd come home for the summers after school, I would have him help me train for my fights. And in his last year up at college, I'm like, dude, you got to start doing this. You got way too much talent not to do it. So I started helping him train. I coached him. I think was in his corner man for the first 7 or 8 fights. Um, and he just started walking through people just kind of like I did when I first started, and no one could touch him. And then when he broke off from me, he started going down to Denver and training with Trevor. And Trevor really helped him develop his stand-up game, and then he just had that punch that just killed people.
Yeah, huge fists, huge like lunchbox mitts. Yeah,
So when I was training him for that fight with Brock, it was really a strange situation because here I had 2 years in the WWE, and Brock became one of my best friends, and we're roommates out in Louisville, Kentucky with OVW for a full year. And so Brock's my good buddy, and I'm like telling Brock the same thing, like, dude, you're so good. You need to start fighting and competing. And so, we would before matches, Kurt Angle and Brock and I would be rolling around in the ring and stuff, and Undertaker and all those guys are always wanting to learn fighting tips and stuff from us and stuff that they could maybe incorporate into their wrestling matches. So anyway, it was just a real weird situation when I'm training Shane. That was after I'd left the WWE and I'm back home training Shane. And so to be at that UFC watching those two face off was super interesting. And
yeah, I must.
it was just a flip. I didn't know who was going to win that. I mean, Brock was just the only guy I think that I know that can just took me down at will. Like I couldn't stop the guy. He was so big and so powerful and so fast and just dominated me on the mat. And Shane, I was there from the beginning with him, so I could do pretty well with him on the ground, but his punching had gotten so good that I thought, man, just takes one punch and he could knock this dude out. So
He almost had him.
what a great fight. Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
that's a classic.
You had mentioned in an interview that your faith was one of the reasons that you struggled at the WWE. Could you open up on that?
Yeah, I mean I don't know if you saw the last documentary on Netflix that came out on Mr. McMahon. Yeah, I think that's what it was
Yeah.
called.
Yeah.
But it just gives you a little bit of a glimpse into that time because that was right when I was in the middle of it all, of just how dark it really is. and all the things that go on that people don't realize and don't know about, and just oh gosh, I don't even know how to say it, but um, you really do. You have to sell your soul to the devil, I feel like, in that environment.
Yeah, but you're talking literally or figuratively?
Probably both.
I agree with that. Like, I
It's
agree with that. Like,
it's
if
such a
you go
it's such
ahead.
a dark place. I mean, just the storylines, and you don't really realize what it's like when the groupie scene and the drug scene, and it's like living the life of a rock and roll star. It really is drug, sex, and rock and roll. And to these guys' credit, they don't get seasons. They don't have a 3 month span where they get off. I mean, it's night after night after night, and you fly into a town, and then you rent a car and you drive to the next three towns, and then you maybe get a day off, and then you're back on the road again, and these guys are getting just beat up. I mean, like in mixed martial arts, you're in control of your own body and you can protect yourself. But in this environment, your partner makes one mistake and you hit the concrete, you're messed up. You hear all about all the injuries that are in the WWE, but it's just night after night. And the only way that you can compete again the next night is to take painkillers or to take muscle relaxers, and so you can step back out there again. I remember coming off the top rope one time and landed straight on the concrete and got a stone bruise on my heel, and it hurt so bad I couldn't even walk on it. So in the back room, they stick a cortisone shot up through my heel, and just so I can walk out the next night and do it all over again. And you know that it's still kind of and it's probably tapered down today than what it used to be back even before I was there. But the party atmosphere and the groupies, and like I said, I was pretty much a brand new Christian at the time. So I've got all these big hopes and dreams that I'm gonna, be able to share the gospel with these guys and start Bible studies after matches, and share my faith with them. And I was so overwhelmed by the number of people that were there, that I found myself getting pulled into them more than I was pulling them, towards me and my faith, being a brand new believer and not having any accountability and not having anybody that I can lean on in that time. So it was tough. It was a tough 2 years for me. And I felt like if I would have not been as conservative as I was, I think that I probably could have excelled in that
So,
arena.
so that bonding experience of going down dark roads and having those funny stories, you kind of were eliminated from that.
Yeah, and not going out every night and not hitting the strip clubs and the bars and not partaking in a lot of the drinking and stuff like that. I stopped drinking at 32 years old, and
Good for you.
that just wasn't a part of my life. So I just felt like maybe I was a little bit of an outcast in that
What
group.
about what about all the occult imagery associated with the WWE? No one talks about it,
No, I mean,
but it's obviously there.
yeah. I think a lot of people, because the money is so good, that they just get so caught up in that lifestyle that it's hard to pull away and to stop and do something else. And it's what I wrote in my book a few years ago, said I was living for the three G's, and I think a lot of people do that: gold, glory, and girls. And you get so wrapped up in those three things that it's all consuming, and you don't think about what's really important in life.
I hope one day that people talk about like the occult and pro wrestling, because I think it's more prevalent there than any other sport.
Yeah, and it's something that just started clear back at the beginning, and it's just kind of grown, and it's
Yeah.
old kayfabe, and you don't talk about things.
Yeah. Okay. Something happens on September 29th, 2002. You fight in Pancrase, so you're in Japan. Phyllis Lee's taking care of you.
Yeah.
Kengo Watanabe is your opponent, and you start delving into submissions, which is something that previous your game had lacked.
Yeah, I was pretty much just ground and pound. But the more I trained and the more I learned, I just felt like I was getting proficient at my ground game and, being able to lock people up and put on rear naked chokes and chimeras and Americanas. And I mean, it was just something that naturally came to me as a wrestler. So,
A key lock was money for you.
yeah, it really was. And I don't even know, I couldn't even tell you now how many guys I used that and tapped them out with, but it was a majority of all of my submissions.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody with more key lock submissions than that of yourself. You also worked out with Brendan Schaub.
Yeah, Brendan and Shane were good friends. So I would drive down to Denver and train with Brandon and Shane. And it was when Brandon was first starting out too, and just a young wild kid, but had a lot of potential. But he's told a few stories about me training with him where I would get up on in full mount on him and I would grab his head and just they called it the titty smother, and I would just bury his nose right in between my chest. And I probably tapped him out a dozen times with it, and he would get so embarrassed in front of all of his buddies that he's told that story, I think, to the Joe Rogan show a couple of times.
I think he gets an unfair shake in regards to the common, like the average MMA fan. I think some of his takes on what's happening in current day MMA are absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I think he's done a good job with his podcast and
I do too.
super knowledgeable, and he's done well
Yeah.
for himself, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, I got a ton of respect for him. Um, at Pride 24, Valentin Overeem, you're talking about a guy that's had 80 fights. He's been to the second round twice. So he's just coming out on fire. If you make it past this first round, you're getting a win. If you don't, the only chance he's got to win is in those first 3 minutes. How was fighting Valentin?
Um, it went pretty much just as expected for me. I mean, I went out, circled him, shot him back into my corner. Mark Coleman was cornering me that time, and shot him right back into my corner, and he just fed right into that key lock perfectly. And I jumped out to the side and popped it. His shoulder dislocated, and that was it. His brother was in his corner.
You hear Coleman screaming? Dude, Joey.
Coleman, Coleman screaming.
Coleman
Yeah.
screaming. Break it. Break it. Break it, Ron. Break it. Like it was
I don't know if that was Coleman or Phyllis, but she might have said it as well.
kind of a similar voice pattern. Yeah, you're
Right?
right. Yeah.
Break his effing arm.
You had Coleman, you had Nate Marquardt in your corner. And what I really liked was your pre-fight quote was Philippians 4:13. I
We
always
wrestle not against flesh and blood.
No, I can do all things.
Oh, never mind.
Do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Yeah.
Joey, Philippians 4:13. Do you know any fighter that might have that tattooed on them?
Yeah, Johnny Bones Jones, the epitome of Christian values.
Yeah.
Uh,
I always wonder because like Johnny Jones, was probably psychotic in regards to watching the sport. Like every fight, especially heavyweights or upper weight guys.
Right.
Listen, if we ever get Jon Jones, that's actually one of my questions for him. If this was the starting point that planted the seed to get that tattooed on him. I'm not kidding. Like I know it's kind of one of those things that you probably just said at a whim, but it may have inspired him to get that tattoo.
I did train with him a couple of times down in Denver.
Really?
Yeah, he was friends with Nate, and he trained with Trevor a couple of times. So
And Trevor Whitman. Everyone's been with Trevor. What
yeah.
was your experience like with John?
He was super respectful of me. I mean, he had known me from early days of fighting, and remember him saying to me one time, he's like, "How can you stay so relaxed and calm out here?" Because I was always pretty chill, dude, and and I did pretty well against him again because I was a lot bigger than he was then, and he was still pretty young. So, but very respectful.
Was this the period of time where he was telling everybody he wanted to be a police officer?
I'm not sure if it was before or after that.
Okay, I'm assuming it was. Did you train with Mark Coleman at all, or was it? Did you guys just connect at the event?
We would just hook up at events, yeah. And I see him so many times that we became pretty good friends, and him and Kevin and I would hang out a lot of times, before pride fights and go out
Yeah,
to
the
dinner.
Americans kind of buddied up at the pride
For
fights, right?
sure, for sure, especially hardcore wrestlers,
Right.
that was all of our background. So
That's cool. Yeah,
yeah,
Coleman was anti-jiu-jitsu American wrestler.
for sure.
And to Coleman's credit, he was way ahead of his time because I remember like right around this time, I hung out with him several times, and he'd be like, "If you guys want to make a name for yourself in MMA, you better do it now because the Russians are coming." He would say that.
Really.
Yeah, and like in 2002, the Russians are coming. Yeah.
Oh, they came.
Oh,
Yeah, Van Chochin.
Igor, what an underrated guy.
We'd had some bricks for hands, man.
Greatest tournament fighter ever.
Yeah, it was fun to watch him in the Grand Prix out there with Coleman and
Yeah.
something.
James Tavares, WEC7, and then you go into the IFC, where I believe you're sponsored by Victory J with Victory Fight Gear. When you fought Jerry Verbanek, Scary Jerry.
Scary Jerry.
Yeah. He's got wins over Joe Pardue and Kerry Shaw.
At this time when I'm fighting, I'm traveling full time with a group called Team Impact. It used to be the power team back in the day
Yeah.
to do the feats of strength and
That's
the
cool.
powerballs. But I mean, I'm traveling 3 weeks out of 4 with these guys, and I'm all over the world. And so I think it was 2 weeks before that fight, I end up in Haiti. So we're trying to find wrestling mats where we can find somewhere that I can roll with. And the guys that I travel with are big NFL football players and bodybuilders and just big dudes. So that's all I had. So make these guys, I'll stay out in the middle for an hour and a half, and they just rotate in on me and forever and ever. But I'll never forget, I just had gotten back from Haiti and was pretty sick from you can't leave Haiti and not have a stomach bug. But then I ended up fighting Jerry, and it was not my greatest fight probably. I mean, I was gassing pretty good, but
Yeah, you got him a shoulder lock,
yeah,
like you.
ended up tapping him out. But he had some strong hands too. I didn't want to get clocked by him, so tried to take him down and control him on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, Purdue and Shaw are legit opponents, and he had wins over them. So it's not like that's not a walkthrough fight. Verbanek is tough for sure. And Jun Ishii was an incredibly popular pro wrestler in Japan. You fight him in Pancrase, October 31st, 2003. He had a win over Jason Godsey. Doesn't look like much physically, but wow, was he popular.
Really?
Wow, you hear the pop in the audience.
Yeah. I mean, for any Japanese against an American fighter, it's such a different environment in Japan than it is here, though. Just the amount of respect they have for the fighters, and That was one of the things I noticed right away when I fought out in, especially for Pride and mostly in Pancreas, where the crowd, when they would see something respectable, you would get a little golf clap from them. But
Yeah.
so different than, the UFC here in the States, where people are just drunk and screaming and all they want to see is blood and fists flying. It's just pretty cool to just see the amount of respect that they have for the fighters.
And it's not because they drink less, because there's a lot of drinking going on over there
A lot of
too.
drinking and a lot of smoking, that's for sure.
Yep.
Did you ever get asked to do a fake fight?
I didn't. I mean, professional wrestling, but never,
Yeah.
never,
So
never.
Phyllis was never approached about.
Well, if she was, she didn't tell me because she knew that probably wouldn't have been something I would have done. So
What about like the Yakuza and stuff like that? Like, did you obviously know who they are when you see them?
I never had a lot of contact with those guys.
You were just in and out then, huh? You didn't socialize much.
Not too much over there. I mean, we would I think I socialized more when I was over there with New Japan Pro Wrestling than I did when I was fighting, because the fighting, you're over there for what, 4 or 5 days, and you get in before the fight and training and press and training and press, and
Then you're out right away.
you're
Did
fighting,
you
they fly
go
out.
did you go to Roppongi, or did you just avoid that whole scene in Japan?
I must have avoided it because I'm not
Okay.
even sure
Well,
what that is.
oh, it's like their Las Vegas.
Okay.
You get a draw against Jimmy Ambrose and Pancrase. Like Japan likes you a lot. They like you so much. On February 1st, 2004, Pride 27, they give you a 10-1-2 Mirko Cro Cop. At the time, he's got wins over Sakuraba, Fujita, Heath Herring, Vovchenchen, kickboxing wins against Hunt, Peter Ertz, and Remy Bojenski, and a draw against Wanderlei Silva. That's at this point where he's at. And there's more. I'm just kind of, soft touching.
He's at the top of his game for sure.
Any hesitation with Mirko?
What's that?
Any hesitation with him prior to the
No,
fight?
I took the fight immediately. And I'm one of those guys that never sees myself losing a fight. Like, I would
Good.
just so confident in my abilities. Like, man, this guy cannot stop my takedown. I don't care who he is. He can't stop my takedown. And when I'm on the top and I'm controlling him, I'm going to hook up that arm and I'm going to snap him in a key lock. And I pictured myself winning the fight. Knew that he had that lethal kick. So, it was hard to get film back then, but I did get some film and watched a little bit of his kicks, and the guy would not telegraph that kick. It would just come out of nowhere and kick over the top of my head. I'm 6'2", just so I knew it was coming. Um, but as soon as I got in the ring with him, and like, man, I gotta take this guy down. So got as close as I could and shot in and got him down to the ground, controlled him for a long time. But I was very impressed with his defense on the ground. Like, he had my wrists the whole time, so I had a hard time getting my wrists free to unload a shot on him. And when I did get a couple punches in, they were, deflected a little bit because he was blocking them, and had a hard time passing his guard. And it was actually when I went to kick his leg over the top trying to pass it is when he got back up to his feet again, and then ends up catching me with one of those kicks. And
Okay. Was he greased?
I don't think he was greased. Not that I remember, but
Wow.
but not that
I always thought he was, especially against wrestlers.
He had good
But
takedown defense.
I mean, if you're saying no, I got to believe you. I mean, if
I don't
anyone's going to say it, it's someone, that wound up against him.
I don't remember. I don't remember him being slick or greasy. Probably sweaty, but
Standard,
right,
huh?
right.
Huh. Joey, I had money on that question. I thought for
Did you?
sure. Well, I mean, he was real hard to take down. Like where he's from, there's not like a big wrestling pedigree. So I just figured at night, for those keeping score at home, at this point, guys are taking really hot baths at night in baby oil.
Yeah.
And then are they greasing? No. But what's coming out of them when they start sweating?
Yeah.
So if you're saying no, I got to honor it.
Yeah, that's the first time I heard of that happening either. I mean, I'm sure it probably has, but that's not something I'm familiar with.
Joey?
I believe him.
I believe him
I
too.
would have bet he was greased too. Well, at the time, Vanderlei Silva was greased, and a lot of the
Silva
shootbox
was for
guys.
sure greased. Anderson and Wanderlei Silva. Out here, any Silva out of Brazil was greased. There you go. I'll say it. Huh. That's fascinating. Crow Cop had he had a crazy run over in Pride, boy.
He did. It's so bizarre to see those guys that are so dominant in Pride come over to the UFC, and it's just a totally different ballgame for them. And I've never really understood that.
Well,
I thought
Pride had a contract that in bold letters said, "We do not test for performance enhancing drugs."
Oh.
I think that had something to do with it.
There you go.
I think it was the time. Like here, if you look at American fighters that flew to Japan, they were all jet lagged, and very rarely were they told they had an opponent until like about a week prior. You know, when they're getting your airline stuff together. So oftentimes at this point in the game, fighters from this country, they weren't staying in fight shape.
Right.
So I think that also had a little play in it. But then also the Japanese fighters that come and fight in the UFC, they've got a terrible record. You know, they don't cut weight, so they're always really light. They don't have good wrestling. And like I guarantee if somebody were to run the numbers, it's way lopsided with losses than it is compared to wins.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. But in Japan, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. Because I mean, guys like Dan Henderson were getting schooled. You know, guys like Wanderlei Silva were getting wrecked by some of the Japanese counterparts, or at least real hard fights. Sakuraba, one of my heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they really like you in Japan a lot. Keigo Takamori. There's another guy who you left with a souvenir with him as well. Another broken arm.
Oof.
Yeah, I gave him a chance.
Broken arm or torn shoulder?
He broke his arm.
Broke the arm.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, they were yelling it.
Yeah.
Did you feel it? Did you feel it pop?
Yeah, I did.
So go ahead. I'm going to expand on this after you finish. This is your interview, not mine.
Well, I'm one of those guys that Phyllis always drove her nuts that I was too nice of a fighter. Like I would always give those guys a chance, to tap before I was just going to crank on something and hear something pop. So I felt like almost in all my fights, I gave them an opportunity to bow out and tap. And when they didn't, that was just kind of what Japanese fighters do. They're too proud to tap. So yeah, I definitely felt that one snap. Wow.
So Joey, when we talk about Frank Mir, like
Yeah.
when we talk about like Herb Dean and his experiences with refereeing Frank Mir was just breaking things.
Yeah, he was.
And that's got to play a little bit of a head game in with the opponent. And if you look at Ron's record, he's broken about a half dozen arms.
But he doesn't get the reputation for being
on that? Yeah. I mean, I'm correct. Am I right?
Yeah, I just got so good at setting up that key lock that no one could stop it, even though like you said, they knew it was coming. But I would set it up with ground and pound, get side control like I always did, start ground and pound, they'd come up to block and they would just feed right into that. And I was so quick with it that once I have it locked up, I got a pretty good grip. And something's going to break or give.
Well,
Joey,
you do rip phone books in half, don't you? Isn't that one of your things?
Phone books and frying pans.
Yeah.
Frying pans.
so Joey, not a single one of his opponents. Like I went through every fight. Not a single one pre-fight interview said, "I'm unkeylockable.
Yeah.
I'm unkeylockable. Not gonna happen." Not a single person said it. In fact, there was a little bit
Not
of
against him.
some hesitation and fear, actually, in regards to it. And I'll tell you what, you didn't give up too many takedown points in your MMA career either.
No, I can only think of a couple.
Yeah. Coleman didn't give up a takedown until Hua, his second fight.
Really, Marco.
He, he was in his 40s, like mid 40s.
He must have been gassed. It might have been in the third period, huh?
Yeah, I think so. And it was kind of like a fluke. Yeah. I mean, Randleman couldn't take him down in practice.
Yeah.
Speaking of giving up a takedown, next guy on his record is the only guy that took him down so far, Kevin Randleman.
Yeah. Was that a hard fight? Was that a hard fight? Was that a hard fight for you to take?
It was a little bit, one because we were friends, and the other one was just I knew it was going to be just such a clash of styles, like we're both the same exact fighter out there just trying to take each other down and maybe get a lucky punch in here or there, but that's not our strength. I think they interviewed him before the fight and said one of us is going out in the first period. We're gonna get knocked out or tapped out, but that's the way it worked. But I did not expect to get taken down like that. That dude was so fast and strong that he had me on my back twice. And I didn't feel like I was in danger in my guard, and I actually felt pretty relaxed. And I think that's probably why I won the fight, is because I was able to just reserve my energy on the bottom and stay in my guard and control my breathing, where Kevin was doing everything he could to land a punch and to stay in good position. And I just got to my base one time, and before he put the legs in, he just slid right over the top of me. Maybe he greased up before the fight, slid right over the top of me, and again fed right into that key lock. And I wasn't on top very long before I locked it up.
Just so everybody keeping score at home, let's talk about two fights prior to Ron Waterman. He KOs Crow Cop, which was insane.
Yeah.
And then they go, "Oh, okay, Kevin, tough fighter, but a little inconsistent. We're going to put you up against Fedor Emelianenko after that," where he does that insane suplex where I honestly, I thought Fedor died. I thought we witnessed like
Anybody
an
who watches
actual.
that takedown thinks the guy's neck's got to be just snapped in two.
And then it's Ron Waterman.
Like the fact that Randleman did so well against Bobish had me nervous for you in this fight, because I thought you and Bobish kind of had similar skill sets, similar size.
Yeah.
But yeah, you weathered the storm in that one.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. I think he was getting tired, and I still felt like I had some pretty good energy left, and just fell right into my key lock.
Yeah,
That's probably one of my biggest wins in my career.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Crowd was pumping, and they had the whole drum wall out there in Pride, and the crowd was going crazy. It was pretty amazing.
I mean, if you look at his resume at this point, win over Dan Bobish, win over Ebenezer Braga, beats Maury Smith, Pete Williams, Pedro Hizzo. Essentially, those three right there all got wins over Coleman. And what he does is he gets the tax back. Like, no, you're not getting a win over Hammerhouse. Like he gets the wins back from Mark.
That's right.
Wow. Well, it's just an amazing guy. You fight for the Pancrase World Title against TK. TK, it's his 68th fight, an absolute legend. Hans Nyman, Dick Vrij, Maury Smith, Pete Williams. I think he got Fedor with a cut, but he was also a Lions Den member. Like TK, out of all the Japanese fighters, Sakuraba's at the top. In my opinion, TK is number 2. for me.
He goes way back for sure. That's one of the only fights that I never got a copy of. So I've never been able to watch that fight since I never watched any of it.
It's on Fight Pass.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look it up because that's one that I've never watched, but I don't know, just from my perspective coming out of that fight, I thought that if it wasn't a draw that I won the fight. I did not feel like I lost that fight. Again, I was on the top almost the whole fight. I don't remember ever being underneath him. He might have caught me with a couple punches, but nothing that dazed me. Um, I don't know. That was a weird fight for me to walk out with a loss with, I thought. And it was for a Panker's belt too, so I was a little bit worked up.
Yeah. That'd have been such a cool title to have, Pancrase
Yeah.
champion.
Uh-huh.
Huh.
But that's the way it played out. So
Well, you wind up in another title fight against Rico Rodriguez. And you know what? In between that, you were supposed to fight Josh Barnett, and the fight got canceled. I think the whole event got canceled.
yeah.
What happened with that? What was the backstory?
I don't even remember. I remember taking the fight. Um, and I don't even it was so long ago, I don't remember what happened that it ended up falling through.
In Japan, a guy from Colorado was going to fight a guy from California or Washington at the time, Seattle, Washington.
Yep.
That's wild. That's wild. Yeah. Rico Rodriguez, your original opponent was Monstro Mike Sir. Rico Rodriguez at this point is the former UFC champion, ADCC standout, obviously. Trained with Sakuraba. In your corner, you got Shane Carwin. He's got Tito Ortiz. This is also one of those moments for your career, in my opinion.
Yeah, for a WC belt. It would have been
Yeah,
the second super heavyweight title.
super cool.
Still have that belt?
I do. I got both of them.
It looked like it was kind of falling apart, like
I know, right?
like in the ring.
Yeah, they weren't probably the best belts out there, but
I think they actually added, like, they bought a standard belt,
it added
like,
a little chain that goes around the house.
then they were adding chains and stuff like to it to kind of make it. It's kind of like
Uh,
someone's DIY project. Yeah.
right. Somebody's wife is in the back room putting them together.
Yeah. Yeah. But Rico Rodriguez, I mean, you're talking about a former UFC world champion at that point.
Yeah, and he took the fight, at a last minute notice because for some reason I don't even know why that first fighter fell out. I don't know if he got hurt or something, but I felt like everything came together with that fight for me too. I mean, I took him down at will that night. He couldn't stop my takedowns, and he caught me with a couple punches. He caught me with a kick to the face at one point, but nothing really stunned me. So I feel like I just dominated 3 rounds.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it was decision, but like your motor was running the whole time.
Yeah.
And usually guys your size, and you're every bit of
That's probably
200.
one of the heaviest I've ever fought at. I think I fought at like 285 that night.
Yeah, but you're in shape 285.
I was definitely.
It's not
If
like
you look at
me or
Rico's
Joey at
I know.
285. That's for sure. Yeah, but your motor, like, heavyweights didn't have the type of output that you had. I think that's also something that you use to your advantage.
Absolutely. And it's that whole wrestling mentality, you just go, go, go and learn where you can rest a little bit. But yeah, I always had that a little bit. I mean, I got tired for sure, but for me, I think it was more of just the mental strength that I had that there's no way I could quit.
So were there injuries going into the second Rico fight then? Because it seemed as if like you struggled with your cardio after the first round.
It did. I was gassing pretty hard. I don't know why. I mean, I went in super in shape. But for some reason, maybe it was the adrenaline that got to me that night. I don't know, but it was definitely I was breathing hard, but he caught me several times with some really hard punches. I remember like I could take him down pretty freely the first time we fought, and the second time I fought, I would drive him up against the cage and he would reach back and grab the cage and stop his takedown, but it would break my momentum and he'd be able to fight back up and not get taken down. And I think that happened probably 3 or 4 times at least in that first period. And I was just getting frustrated and gassed.
Joey Rico is the highest I've ever seen him physically, but it's kind of like a steroid bloat. Like it's like he juiced and didn't care about his diet.
Right.
So he's 300 pounds. Like he's 298. He's huge. He's huge.
The WFA.
So yeah, John Lewis is John Lewis is the promoter.
Right.
The Fertitas are there. Dana White is there. Like it's a pretty big event.
Right.
Yeah, Kevin James came backstage and introduced himself to me. With Bas.
That's very cool. Tito Ortiz is in Rico Rodriguez's corner. I think Rico is prime partying. Like he's doing the work in the gym, but like the stuff he's doing outside of the gym is probably not real healthy. Yeah.
Get some demons.
Oh, Rico is like one of those cautionary tales.
Yeah.
You're going to be a world champion before the age of 25, but you're going to wash out of the UFC. And then you're never going to make it back again. And you're going to refuse to close that chapter in your life for probably about another 15 years.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
But the guy did have a good punch. He was a strong striker.
He was gifted.
He ended up breaking my orbital bone beneath my eye. So the whole side of my face was numb for about 3 months.
Oof.
But yeah, that was one I won't forget it as well.
You also were on the receiving end of the debut for Roger Gracie, one of the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioners. The same year, the year after he won Abu Dhabi. His 2005 Abu Dhabi run I witnessed it. It was legendary.
Really?
I was at this fight as well. I worked for Bodog at the time.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't he tap out every opponent in his division and the open division that year?
He did, but one person quit. Like they never came out for like. so people like the haters will be like, "Well, you didn't stop so and so." Like, yeah, but the guy didn't come out because he knew it was coming.
Right.
Like he quit. Like he finished him.
Yeah, it counts.
Yeah. Roger Gracie.
So that's another one. I'm just thinking, man, there's like, I don't think he cares if he gets taken down, but how's he going to stop me? And that was just my mentality back then. And looking back at the fight now, it's like, why did I just stay on my feet with this guy and throw? Because he probably didn't have that great of a stand-up game where I probably could have caught him with a punch. But instead, I just, again, right back to my game plan, circle him, shoot him back into my corner, take him down. Kept him on the bottom for probably 90% of 90 or 100% of the fight and just tried to ground and pound him. And he would just crawl up my back with those big long legs of his. And I think I ended up picking him up 2 or 3 times and slamming him back down as he had my arm. I'm just holding him and slamming back onto the ground, but didn't phase him. And finally, he just got my arm so far out to the side at one point that even when I had a hold of it, I couldn't pull it back in. So only time I ever tapped in my career.
It's wild, dude. Guys like you, Dan Bobish, I really enjoy just taking a microscope, looking at your career. I think you're underappreciated, and you're not afraid to fight anybody.
Yeah, I don't think there was a person that I wouldn't have taken a fight with.
Hey, at this point, Roger Gracie, and if Troy Wah was the referee, Troy passed about a year and a half ago. Phenomenal guy. I traveled internationally with him quite a bit, but no, Roger, that was a cool fight. That was cool. Great show. That was a great show.
That was a good card. There was a lot of big names on that card that night.
Yeah. Yeah. You hit Rinaldi, Amalu Brash, you end your
Wait,
career.
after this point, he gets called in as an alternate for the Yama pit fighting. I want to hear a little bit about that experience. You sat in as a commentator. What was that show like?
That was so weird. I mean, obviously the ring is completely different than what we're used to, but
Right?
um, it was just weird. I'd never been an alternate before for any kind of a fight, so them calling me in for to be an alternate, like you're training for uh to get yourself in shape, but you don't know who it could be against. I could step in against anybody and have a
Could
fight.
have been Butterbean that night. I
Yeah,
mean,
it could have been a whole bunch of different guys. So yeah, just train hard for it and get ready, and you still don't know till the last second, someone drops out or can't fight and you're ready to step in. But I remember Rico being there and Oleg Tektarov. There was a bunch of old
Mark
school
Kerr,
fighters there.
Travis View. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Pat Smith. Now, were you paid to be ready?
I was. Yeah, which
And this is Bob Myrowitz's return to
Right.
MMA.
that's right. Yeah,
With John Perretti was involved.
Peretti was there, yeah.
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 People dump on Yama. Look at the fight card. It's fantastic. I'm in. I like it.
I bought the pay-per-view. I'll admit it.
Dude, so did I. I watched
did.
it. I don't know if I bought it. I think I had those tubes
We
that
might
you
have-
screw on the back of your
No, I
cable
bought it.
box
I
at the
bought it.
time.
I'm the only one, I think.
I mean, it was a cool card. Yeah, I mean, it was like what two rounds, right?
I think it was.
It was 2 rounds because of sanctioning. That was kind of their way to get around.
In the tournament, the first and second fight were 1 round so that they could have a 3-round final.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I recently watched the whole card. That's how sick I am.
Did you really?
I did. That's how I saw you commentating with Peretti. And I was like, I forgot about that you were actually there ready to go.
Yeah, that'd been fun to step into that for sure.
Joey, if anybody outside of this, including our wives, it's amazing we've procreated.
That's true.
Yeah, I was watching the Yama pit. Dude, I had to watch it. The Yama pit fight one. Dude. I get it. I'm not sure many other people do, but I do get it. So Ron Waterman, could you give us with some positive, give us, we're obviously wrapping up. You've been a phenomenal guest. I think I've spoke a little too much this one, but if you could just leave us with something positive.
I've right before I went into fighting, it was probably 1996 or 97 that I became a believer in Jesus and accepted Christ into my life. So it was something that I think has helped me throughout my entire career. Is I tell people all the time, like right before I would step into that ring, I would just feel such a peace and a calm come over me. Like, the scripture says, what can man do to me? Like I knew that I had someone stronger in my corner that I could always count on to be there, and win or lose, it really didn't matter. And just having that peace and that calm helped me so much throughout my whole career. And now that I'm not fighting anymore, I've been able to travel around the entire world and share the gospel to millions of people and see hundreds of thousands of people walk forward and accept Christ, and been a full-time youth pastor for a couple of years, and still get to travel with that strength team and do feats of strength all over the world. And it's just such a blessing in my life to be on a platform that I think God created for me. And I think that's exactly what he did through fighting and through the world wrestling is put me on a platform that people would hear my voice more readily, like when I walk into a school and do a school program for the kids and get to show them a video of me, walking out into the octagon and a video game that I was in, and they think that's so cool, but it just gives me more of an ear to listen to people, or for people to listen to me. And it's been a blessing to be able to share the gospel that way and what God's done in my life through all that.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. It really is. It's special. Like you've been the fight game is so unique. It takes people to places where they would normally never go and makes you cross paths with people that you never fathomed that you would ever meet.
Yeah, so many interesting chapters in my life. Last year, or almost 2 years ago now, the UFC came out to my house here in Berthoud, Colorado, and did a section on me called "Where Are They Now" for the UFC Fight Pass, and spent a couple days with me at the fire department where I now am a paramedic, and up at the church where I was a pastor, and just with my family here at home, riding horses and enjoying what God's given me.
That's really cool. Well, Ron, you're absolute professional. Um, like I said, that's the only time we ever met was at that Bodog event, and I genuinely remember how kind you were to everybody, how professional, and just how nice. Like everybody behind your back was just like, no man, he's just a real nice guy. Yeah, and Phyllis Lee brought that home as well.
Yeah.
It was nice. Yeah, it was cool to listen to her talk about you without you present, and it was nice.
Well, thanks, buddy. I miss Phyllis.
Yeah,
So
excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, man.
I
Thank you,
appreciate
Ron.
you, Mike. Thanks for having me on tonight. Thank you, Joey.
Take care.
God bless you.
Yeah, you too. The H2O man.
Ah, casting some light into our dark corner of MMA
Yeah,
history. He is one of the good ones,
he's a good dude, man. He's just a good
legitimately.
guy. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I uh I must admit something. I've sent messages to other people that are currently incarcerated.
Yeah. You keep trying to steer us towards the dark. All right.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. We're gonna get a few more. Hey, dude, that's what we do. We interview everybody.
Everybody.
Good, bad, in between everybody. Ron, obviously, great guy. Ron brings home your daughter or something like that, knows how to defend himself,
Yeah.
alpha, good dude. He's doing what he's supposed to do outside of the ring as well as inside the ring. You're in good hands. You're in good hands. So Joey, that's a good one. That was a good one, dude.
Hmm.
What else do we got lined up?
Inside or outside of prisons?
Hopefully outside.
Hopefully outside. Oh man, we finally going to get Big Country because that's going to be a good one.
Are we gonna get him? Did you communicate with him?
I thought you were closing in on that one.
I
It was
can
him and somebody else.
certainly I can certainly step on Big Country. Like I think this weekend is going to be a big part of us closing that. We should get Roy Nelson. Yes.
Yeah.
Jim Miller as well. Um, do we do a second roundtable for Tory with the press side? Ed Doty, Jeff Sherwood. Um, we got the fighter side with Millis and Strebent and
Yeah.
Millis Strebent and Chris Brennan. I think the press side would be interesting. I think it would actually be pretty telling. We might do that like on a Thursday. We might just drop that on a Thursday just as a.
I think we should broaden the view and try to get the guy who reffed the fight. I might be able to pull that one off.
We'll get Larry Landless,
Yeah.
Jeff Sherwood, Ed
And
Doty.
Ed Doty. Yeah.
That's a good one, right?
That's a good table. We have been getting requests to do another one of those round tables, so we can't do much better than those guys.
No, especially in this instance.
Unless Eddie Bravo decides to jump on. That'd be good.
But what I think we do in the future also on a Thursday, maybe one a month, maybe 6 a year. We'll call it 6 a year. If we do more, great. If not, oh well. I think maybe we get three guys either on the same team or three guys on the same fight card. And we just kind of do events or instances
that's a great
in
idea.
history.
Yeah, you grab guys that did the IFC global domination, great card, get a couple of guys that were a little lower on the card. Might be easy to score an interview. Maybe John Hackelman, who brought guys to that tournament, sits in to be a good one.
We can get Mac Danzig on a couple more times.
Yeah.
Who I really like. I tell you, I'm going to will this into existence. I'd like to get Murillo Bustamante on with Tom Erickson.
Yes.
Maybe grab one more guy and talk about that Mars event.
Mars event was a good one. Oh man, if only we could get Henzo. That would close that out because he was the main event that night against Taktarov. Yeah, that was a hell of a card.
Dude,
A lot of big
Taktarov.
names.
Dude, I can get Taktarov. Can you imagine if we get Bustamante, Taktarov, and Erickson?
Erickson.
Because Taktarov was claiming that he was drugged that night.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you've done Erickson before, but not with me.
Erickson's
so
cool. Erickson really
cool.
enjoys it. Erickson
Yeah.
enjoys it. Taktarov enjoys it. Like, I've got their personal cell phone numbers. Bustamante really had a good time with us. I know he's in Brazil.
Yeah.
Dude, can you imagine we did a Mars deep dive with those three?
Yeah, and it doesn't end there. I mean, there's interesting cards that have happened for the last 30 years. Just pick one and do a whole episode about it. I think that'd be a great addition. I think I mentioned it before. King of the Cage went to South Africa. That's when Rhino knocked out Shamrock. We can get Rhino.
Dude,
we'll look for a couple more guys.
We can do a Whamma reunion. Or Yama.
Yeah.
A Yama reunion. Reunion.
Yeah, shit. Mark Kerr, Taktarov,
Perretti. Yeah, Perretti. Yeah. I think we should do this. And they're easy to, I mean, here. In regards to preparation, we do a lot. We can agree on that, right? We do a lot. Like, I got a security job that, like, I'm there to get paid to study for this podcast, to pretend like any aspirations of moving up, which I get paid well. I do.
Yeah.
But those are non-existent. Like, I'm literally there to study for this.
Yeah.
Like today I was there for 12 hours. I did 2 previous shifts on Ron Waterman and Jim Miller. I kind of like mixed it up a little bit. Yeah. But today I also gave like an additional 9 hours just to kind of tighten things up. I just get lost. Like, I get in my zone and I get lost. And then, like, I look up and oh God, a lot of time passed by. Okay. So today, like, I don't know, maybe this 26, 27 hours went into this.
Right.
You know, for what, an hour and a half, 2 hour interview, but roughly a 2 hour interview. It's just kind of the standard by week, what we usually put into each guest.
Right.
And those roundtables are so easy that within a couple hours, you just kind of push and leave. Right. You know, let everybody else handle it.
Yeah. So it's not as heavy lifting on you.
No, it's really easy. It's really easy.
And
it's a conversation.
It was well received. It was well received, the Tory one. So,
dude, that's the Lions. Can you imagine having Tony Galindo back on?
Of course, that's always going to be good. He fought in wet. We'll do a wet and wild episode. Just whoever we can get that was there.
We get Tony Galindo on, and then we just bring in Ken Shamrock, because Ken's got selective memory, and he thinks Tony ripped him off. And like, I've read through everything. Tony definitely didn't rip him off, but I think Ken just kind of got dug in, and like he refused to admit he's wrong.
Yeah, well, that's not the Ken I know.
I talked to Mark Hall today as well.
Oh, dude.
Mark Cobra Hall.
Yeah.
He might be good for one. I don't know if he just picked up on accident or not, which is entirely, but oftentimes we get people that are into it. Yes. And then they block our numbers. Yeah. Anybody in particular that rings a bell with Joey?
I'm definitely not thinking of Ron Van Cleef right now.
No, neither am I.
he didn't come to mind. I don't know who you're talking about.
He just won't do it, dude. He won't do it. Yeah, Van Cleef won't do it. And Eddie Goldman
He will
did.
agree to do it. Van Cleef will agree to do it. He just won't
He just
do it.
won't.
He just doesn't show up.
Yeah. Dude, I'm thinking about getting Eddie Goldman and then just having a trivia contest with him.
Huh. Yeah, I swear to God, I used to listen to his radio show.
I don't know how.
It was on the website. I remember it was like
It was
dial-up
IATA.
internet.
Yeah.
Dial-up internet. So it would pause for like 4 minutes and then it would play. Yeah.
So he's taken his entire library down.
Really?
Yeah. He at one point it was on iTunes. And I would just be in disbelief listening to it. Like, I can't believe at one time I thought this guy was like an actual reporter.
Right. Well, the barrier to entry was very low at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd read some people's articles and I don't even think they had spell check.
No. Even Tori. Like, I enjoyed Tori's articles, but
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like they were profound, but it was like little nuggets were in there that I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was a guy that was dialed into the sport, and there were no real journalists that were dialed into the sport.
No, Sherwood was like if MMA had like a legit Hall of Fame, Jeff Sherwood should be in it. Keurig Jenis should be in it. Like they were actual
right,
like pioneers in the journalism space. Eddie Goldman, no, doesn't belong in it.
Well, now he's not going to do a show.
No,
Good job,
Andy, clip that. I will make sure he gets it. Eddie,
good.
Eddie Goldman does not deserve to be in the MMA Hall of Fame. It's true. He deserves to be there just as much as you or I.
Well, hang on now. I don't belong in the Hall of Fame yet, as a caveat. My life's work is not complete yet.
Anyway, Eddie's a prick. Eddie's a prick, and he's an old angry guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think he listens to the show, but when he does listen to the show, he calls John Perretti up, and he talks about how insulted he was that there was like a little trivial thing.
Right.
Here. There's a couple different ways to interview people, not a conversation, but an interview. One of the ways is to be corrected, because what happens is you've asked a question without even really having to phrase it. So like you make a little, I'm not going to say like a mistake, but you say something to where, oh, well, no, it's actually this. And because of that, it's something that it's a technique that we use often here.
Right.
And it's not like, oh, you're so dumb, I can't believe you didn't understand that or know that. No. It's just a little minor correction, and then it opens up a story.
Right.
We're going to get John Perretti on. Let's get John Perretti again. And he's going to tell you what Eddie Goldman tells him about me.
Great. So this podcast has now become about personal grudges. Good job, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
anybody else we're going to tee off on?
I've got a laundry list, actually. Yeah. Jesse on Fire just subscribed to us.
Jesse on Fire just subscribed to us?
Yeah.
He doesn't really do MMA anymore. He does mostly politics now.
Yeah, I think he got a much bigger jump. Like
his subscribers really jumped the day that Trump got shot, because he jumped on with a live right away and got like 100,000 viewers out of it.
Good for him.
He's kind of switched.
Yeah. Well, most of the people in that space, I think he'd probably do well there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys in that space do what it is he does, and they've got substantial followings.
Yeah. Well, the template, if you're trying to get a following, is you find a niche you know a lot about, and then you start widening what you talk about. And so it's been less and less MMA the last few months.
Yeah. We're still trying to figure out how to get that audience too, like our niche, because
Yeah. Well, we're widening it out. We're talking about Yama now. We didn't used to talk about Yama all the time. We're gonna get like 8 more guys following.
Dude, wait till we start talking about the IFL teams.
Oh God. Yeah.
That's gonna put us over.
That's
That's
right.
what's gonna do it.
I'll get Savant back on.
Yeah. Well, so on our Instagram, we had 276,000 interactions and impressions last month
Mm-hmm.
with under 1,900 followers.
Yep.
We can't get people to subscribe.
I don't get it. Click subscribe. It's free. God damn it.
Yeah. Joey, absolute pleasure. I got my wife here looking at me, and she is correct. She is right. I got a 5 a.m. flight.
All right.
Larry Landless, are we going to do that? When do you want to record it?
I think we're doing that Sunday.
Okay. I get home at 8 o'clock Chicago time.
Okay.
So if we were to do 8 o'clock your time, I'm home at 10 o'clock at night. I can assure you that my house is going to be extremely happy that we had an entire day of travel, and I've decided to record for another 2 hours after that.
Right.
So keep that.
All right.
All right. See you, Joey.
Talk to you later.
Take care.